Welcome back to the ESM podcast. I'm so thankful that you've joined. Today's episode is sponsored by Tyler Kane with Statewide Mortgage. He's a senior loan officer with 20 years of experience in helping people with their home mortgage needs. Whether you're a first-time buyer, looking to refinance, or just want to discuss future home ownership goals, give Tyler a call, 813-380-8487. Or you can set up an appointment at his website, which is provided in the show notes. It just does not get any better than Christians helping Christians. Speaking of which, thank you again for being here with me. Let's get started. Good morning and thanks for joining. Let me begin with a thought experiment. It won't be enjoyable, but I promise if you'll stick with me, this can lead to optimism and clarity and all kinds of great things. But imagine you went to the doctor and they told you something today with absolute certainty, not a guess, not a possibility, but a certainty that you have exactly 10 years left to live. 10 years from today, your walk on this earth is over. Can I ask a few questions about that? First of all, go ahead and calculate the age. Where would you be? Just add a digit to that 10 column. That's your number. Would you change anything immediately? Would there be necessities that became clear right now? Would it change the things that you cared about? Would your goals be altered or the way you interacted with people be renovated? And maybe the most crucial question of all, bringing all of those together, if 10 years would change anything about your life, where you needed to go a different route because the clock was ticking, why are you still living today as if you have unlimited time? 10 is our choice today. It's a nice way to think. I've done episodes where you look forward 1 year or 3 years. I'm giving you a nice long runway, but the truth is we don't know if we have even that. But using that as the standard, how do you visualize the end of that road, having looked back and said, I used that time wisely? Now, let me be clear. The purpose of that exercise in this episode is not to bring fear, although a little bit of fear does a lot of good. It's just clarity. Deadlines clarify life, priority, emphasis, all of that. Every kind of deadline. This is a very literal line of death. When time becomes visible, the difference between important and trivial become somewhat obvious. The Bible teaches us about this. The Psalm of Moses, Psalm 90 and verse 12. Lord, teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. In today's exercise, we've done exactly that. 365 times 10, that's 3,650 days. They've been numbered. And each day, one goes away. I don't know if that feels like a long time for you, but I'm a bit of a number counter, and I've counted up how many days in a row I've journaled, and I think it's 2,548 or something like that. And I was thinking this morning, that's not that far off from the full 10-year run, and it went very quickly. So we want to get into some really practical concepts today, like what would be altered and how you need to process that and how you start today. And I think most importantly in the back half of the episode, how do you keep it from fading? I mean, this episode could hit you right between the eyes. You could go get a tattoo of that number, whatever it is, and live as if that's all you got. And still within 6 months or a year or 2 years or maybe even far less time, you can be back to the normal ways. So we'll get into some of that. I do want to give you a bit of a retirement story, though, that isn't quite as fictitious as what we've set up today. In fact, it's something quite common. I've seen it, heard it, and been around it on more than a few occasions. Imagine a man who works his entire life looking forward to retirement. At age 65, he finally does it. Now he has the time that he always wanted, time to travel or for hobbies or for relationships, but only 6 months later, he receives news he never expected. The doctor tells him that his illness is aggressive, it wasn't pre-known, and there's nothing now that can be done. Suddenly, everything changes. The things he once stressed about seem meaningless. The projects that consumed his life need to be completely reevaluated. And the only thing that matters is, well, that guy would have to answer for himself. I suspect it would be the people that he loved and the walk that he had in God, or maybe some crucial things he was building. But the tragedy is he only had 6 months. He thought he had 10, 20 more years. He lived 65 years to prepare for what became less than one. What today's exercise is doing is trying to get you out of that waiting period, that plugging along, doing things that are somehow sowing some field that'll harvest at one point, and then you can really get intense about crucial things. How many people don't end up with the time? Or how many people have their kids or grandkids up and gone? Or their opportunities to be influencers among God's people nearly evaporated before they're like, man, I really need to live for things that matter. You've got to start living urgently with a priority system today. If you're willing to do this, to really think on it and start looking at what matters and where more time needs to be placed and more time needs to be taken away, this is kind of a follow-up on our Preparing for 2026 episode from the beginning of the year. We're just looking at it on a different wavelength, but there are some things that ought to become clear, that need to be clear, whether you hear an episode like this or not. Number one, your direction. What is your life about? What is your mission? Many people spend years climbing ladders that don't go anywhere. They hope it goes somewhere, and it often doesn't. When time becomes limited, priorities sharpen up. You start asking questions like, what work actually matters? What is the impact I want to leave on the people around me? And what do I want to accomplish before I'm gone? Do you think you could work on those things today? What actually matters? What impact do I want to leave? And what do I really want to get done? I'm telling you right now, you may not believe it because we always talk about how nobody has enough time, but I don't care if you're, for some reason I'm thinking in the nines today, if you're 29 or 69 or 89, whether you're in the midst of building a career or raising kids or you're finally in retirement, you can do a ton in 10 years. In fact, much sooner. I can promise you that. If you learn to live like you're dying, live like this is it. This is the final approach, and I need to use it well. So the first thing I would ask you to do quite seriously is ask yourself, what is my story? What am I here to do? What direction matters? And maybe even jot a few of those things down. Number two, and maybe this should be number one, but I have to believe that relationships become priceless. A 10-year clock changes how you view people. I would care a lot less about focusing on petty disagreements or proving myself right or winning arguments and care more about just being present and encouraging and investing in people. 10 years, I can do a lot to help people, and then I'll be gone after that. But it can really make a difference. Projects matter. Accomplishing things for yourself, and God, of course, matter. But people, that's the greater work. The irony, maybe is the right word, of today's episode is many of us that are parents, we're well within a 10-year window of really getting to build close, spiritual, needful, amazing relationships with our kids before they meet someone they love and forget our names. Okay, it shouldn't be quite that dramatic, but before they launch out and a lot of things change. Spend a little bit of time thinking about the people you really love. And if you were counting down 3,650, tomorrow 3,649, 48, 47, what little things would you make sure to do prayerfully and actively and with your words every day with regard to the people that you love? So number one, decide what your life's supposed to be about. Number two, invest in relationships. Number three, you might think should come first, but I think there's an overplay that happens here. But number three is eternity comes into focus. We all, as Christians, think sometimes about death and about eternity. We always live with this sense of the imminent and unpredictable return of Jesus Christ. But if you were on the clock, and you might even go buy yourself a little countdown clock, 2,412 days left, eternity would become a bigger part of the way that you think. It would have to. And of course, thinking about death and thinking about being with Jesus and thinking about judgment can cause you to make some very drastic changes. What exactly will death be like? What will the afterlife be like? What do I need to do with my lamps, to use Jesus' parable, to fill them and trim them and have them be ready? But when I talk about how this gets overplayed a little bit, it reminds me of something Edwin Crozier said. He was just here doing a meeting for us in Lindale last week, and he said something to the effect of, we don't need to teach people how to die. We need to teach people how to live. It's not so much your death is coming and you need to be ready and imagine how you're going to be positioning yourself in faith on that last day, and especially for us who don't know the day nor the hour. But even if it was 10 years out, I don't think that's the right focus. Learn how to live rightly today. Learn how to live and love like Jesus, and then you will be ready for eternity. And you can think about it more often with less terror. A passage came to mind here. The Apostle Paul, Philippians 3, forgetting what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead. Please listen to this. He said, I press on towards the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. The goal and the prize are not the same thing. The goal is to finish life running as fast as you can with whatever energy you have. The prize is the wreath that the committee or whoever put the race together gives to you. The prize comes later from a greater authority than yourself. Your focus is the goal. Here's what I mean. Everybody wants that crown of life. We want to sit at Jesus' feet forever. We want to find out how many wings we're going to have, all those kinds of things. But the prize is God's business. God hands out the prizes whenever he wants. He takes people whenever he wants and all those kinds of things. My job is to learn how to live, how to press on toward the goal, real time and ongoingly. So yes, point 3, eternity would come more into focus, and we do need to think about it more, but less projecting ourselves out and wondering how it's going to go, and more living towards the goal today, knowing that that's what will prepare us. But here is the real problem. The real problem is this episode's only 20 minutes long, and by tomorrow, it'll all be down the stream of time. How many times does it happen to us? We're called to face our own mortality, to number our days, and we do number them. Maybe you're figuring out that 10-year clock right now, or maybe it's not a podcast, maybe it's a sermon that you hear, or a funeral that you attend, or a milestone birthday that you or someone else has. We go, man, time is short, and I am so bothered with so many other things that don't amount to much. I have got to relocate my mission, my relationship with people, and the way I view eternity. But then inspiration does what? It fades. Life fills with noise again. The urgency disappears. The problem isn't the spark. There's lots of ways to create the spark. The problem is it's difficult to be disciplined and focused down the stream of time to keep the fire burning. And look, I know this will be difficult on the 10-year. I like the 10-year because there's a bazillion awesome things that we can do and that can happen. I mean, it's a massive sandbox for incredible building. But I know that's going to be difficult to maintain because I get a chance regularly to counsel a lot of gentlemen on a 1-year scale, and they struggle with that. You've heard me go through it here a handful of times. I want you to build a picture of your life 1 year from today. Be as optimistic as you can within the realm of challenge but reality. I want to know the best possible picture, and you have to be smiling when you tell me. Now then, you can do that. You can probably even outpace that. We just have to back up today, 365 days earlier, and do a little something every day. Put a little wording in a prayer, read some text that helps us, go read a book that helps us, learn something new, whatever. But you can do it. One phone call a day towards your expertise or job search or whatever it might be. Do you have any idea how many people who have left the office excited and weren't even really willing to meet up again just 2 weeks later? It may not be their fault, but it is their problem. We can't stay focused. So what I want to finish with is, how do you keep a 1-year clock in view? Or today's bigger picture, how do you keep that 10-year clock in view going forward to where it affects the way that you think today while you're listening, and an hour later, and tomorrow, and on and on? Okay, the first step I hope is the most enjoyable one. You might call this defining your mission or defining your non-negotiable outcomes. Do you think you could make a list of the outcomes that absolutely must happen? Now, I know you can't control all of that. Some of it you can, some of it you can't. But the things that you want to be true at that time more than anything else in the world, I don't even want to give you samples for that. That is something you need to do, and you need to look at them and have them saved in your phone somewhere. You can subcategorize them like crazy. You can go in and say, under that, I would also like this, and particularly that, but have those big items clear. Everything else you do, everything else that you do has to in some way service that mission. You got 10 years left here at best. Even your work, you say, well, I go to work and I love my job. How does that service it? Well, you get something from your job, don't you? Use that thing that you get to service the thing that matters most. I give you that example just so you can see everything that seems mundane, even leisure and recreation and all the kinds of other things you're doing. They need to be servicing something important. Maybe you go and take more walks or work out or lose some weight. You go, well, is that about me? And I'm going to be dead in 10 years anyway. Yeah, that's true, but don't you want to be physically viable and mentally acute and ready to do things for God and for others right up through that finish line? Identify very clearly what those things are. File that under, if you aim for nothing, you hit it every time. But how do we keep it from fading? Well, this is where the daily and weekly rhythms have been transformational in my life. You don't want me to bore you with this again about daily Bible this or weekly journal that, but I'll tell you that you have to build daily and weekly remaining on mission rhythms. What are the seemingly small bricks that you lay, the little things that you will do every single day because you've got 3,650 left and you're going to need every day to keep that thing building? And then weekly, the cadence, Sunday worship, a work week, a weekend, a midweek Bible class. Like the rhythm of a week is a great way. I love the word rhythm, a cadence of the week. There's momentum in it. I've come to value the passing of time, and I know where it's going, just like you, this big ending at some point. And all of a sudden, the passing of time won't feel the same. It won't be like, oh man, another month, another year. Where is it all going? Weekly, you're on this nice flowing rhythm of building and learning things and sharing things and deepening things. And each week has this value to it. And you get to repeat it on the Lord's Day every Sunday morning, remembering Jesus. It's so amazing. How do you keep things moving? You keep it in rhythm, daily and weekly. The rest are good as well, but they'll never be as good as those two. Number 3, and I wish I had all day to talk to you about this, but a shift has to happen at some point from goals to identity. I think we start with goals. You go, okay, I've got 10 years. I'm going to bring that down to what I can do this month, and I'm going to set this goal, this activity goal, this date my wife goal, this Bible study goal, and I just need to kind of hit these marks, and I'm for that. I think that's the way you get started. You go, man, those goals I can control, and they'll lead to the prize that God will handle later. But over time, we get tired of pursuing goals, or we get tired of the goals that we're pursuing. At some point, it needs to go from goal to identity. It's not, I'm trying to quit smoking. It's, I'm becoming someone who is not addicted to nicotine. It's not, I've got to get out there and walk a mile 4 days a week for my own health, and so I don't die before I even get to the 10 years. It's, I'm becoming someone who prioritizes my health for my family and others. It's not what I'm doing. It's who I am becoming. And eventually, well within the 10-year range, if it becomes a part of your identity, it gets built into who you are. It starts to shape your personality. It's no longer, this is someone I'm becoming. It is, this is who I am. And I love that idea on the 10-year clock. There will be things you are still becoming in 10 years. Nobody perfects their walk or relationships, but there will be things that you are, the type of person that you are, because you lived for this. You know, I'm looking at the clock. I really wanted to let you out early today, and I will. I have several other points, but I made sure to start with the most important ones about setting those non-negotiables and working the daily and weekly cadence and shifting towards a new identity. But let me give you a really practical one. I know we've talked about this so many times, but I'm sitting here right now growing in a way that I'm just excited about what's going to happen today and what's going to happen tomorrow in a way that I haven't been in a while. And what did it was removing those distractions. Over time, what happens is the weeds grow and they choke out the good growth. You're planting and nurturing good things. Jesus told this story, but the weeds are growing right beside it. And eventually you either can't tell the difference or you just get too tired of trying to fight. And before you know it, we're back engaged in mindless things that are literally eating up our time. We're on the clock here and our time is being devoured. Now, look, I'm all about a little bit of escapism. I took social media off my phone, and it made my life, I don't know, a bazillion times better. Is that a word, bazillion? But I do keep a little game going every once in a while for a little bit of time every day when I just need to go mindless. We're not saying that there's no time for that, but I minimized it to just what I needed and not these mindless, endless, doom-scrolling rabbit holes. I still go fishing a couple days a week. I play around of golf, but I do it with my kids, at least as often as possible. So we started with a list of the main things, the most crucial things, so that you can focus on them, but don't be afraid to make another little list on the side of things that you already know need to go or need to be minimized. They not only don't service where you want to be or who you want to be, but they're anchors, they're distractions. They're inhibiting the day. Now, normally we go, what's the big deal? It's just a day. Well, don't think like that. A day is one step, one increment in the rest of your life. No matter how long or short it will be, a day has incredible value. So let me conclude. The truth is, none of us are promised 10 years. Some have less and some have more. But every day that passes quietly shortens the clock. 10 years sounds like a long time, but 3,650 days really isn't, is it? So maybe the real question is not how much time do we have. Maybe the real question is, what kind of life are you building with the time that you do have? And then no matter how long the clock is, you can live with purpose, with faith, with eternity in view, with deepened and amazing relationships. In every way that matters, you can excel still more. Thank you again for listening. If it's helpful to you, please consider sharing with a friend. Speaking of friends, I want to mention once again the sponsor for today's episode, Tyler Kane with Statewide Mortgage. They service Florida, Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Colorado, and Alabama. 20 years of experience. They can help you with home mortgage needs, whether you're a first-time buyer, refinancing, or just discussing future home ownership goals. Their website is in the show notes, or you can reach Tyler directly at 813-380-8487. He is a trusted friend and brother, and I encourage you to reach out to him. And in whatever you do today, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, excel still more.